There is a storm brewing around the world that is not getting the attention it deserves. It's the end of a bubble that has never before been seen, a pile of debt large enough to make your eyes water, and a paradigm shift to our financial systems as large as the 2008 global financial crisis and the housing market collapse that caused it. The problem is, nowhere near enough people are talking about it. It gets mentioned in passing, and every time it does, we all collectively sigh and note how worrying this is, but before long we forget all about it and go back to living our lives oblivious to the chaos that is about to come. Today we're talking about the car price bubble, the auto loan bubble that propped this up, and the crushing prices of vehicles that is guaranteed to drive this all right into the ground. But first, I want to ask you a question. Why is it that there are myriad different existential crises within our economies today and we never hear about them until it's too late? Well, the truth is because most of us rely on institutions that oppose our best interests to educate us, but that's where things are changing. YouTube, Twitter, even seemingly childish social medias like TikTok and Instagram have become breeding grounds for independent journalists like myself who aren't dependent on some shadowy paymaster to make rent each month. That's why I've released Stoic Markets, my brand new weekly newsletter where every Sunday I explain exactly what's happened the week before with none of the legacy media's bias. It's 100% free and it's just a 5-minute read once a week to ensure the wool isn't pulled over your eyes, so join Stoic Markets with the link down below in the description. So where did this all start then? Well, of course we go back to COVID and the pandemic. There grew a once in a lifetime squeeze on vehicle prices which has never been seen before and which will never be seen again. With the COVID pandemic came the COVID lockdowns and production of new vehicles stalled all over the world as factories were shut down, ships were barred from leaving port, and microchip manufacturing dove off a cliff. This drove down the supply of new vehicles but also the total number of vehicles on sale as well, and as any first year economics student will be able to tell you, as supply goes down, prices go up. At the exact same time as that happened, our governments turned on the money printers and let loose with their monetary cannons. Asset prices soared, stimulus checks came through the mail, and suddenly people found themselves richer than ever and with nothing to spend all this spare cash on except a new car. So demand rose, and again that also directly leads to an increase in prices. We saw car prices squeezed from both sides, and as a result, this ridiculous boom in car prices emerged that turned traditional wisdom when it came to cars on its head. Standard vehicles were being sent off to dealerships with recommended retail prices of $50,000, but the stickers being slapped on their windshields were 10, 20, or even 30% higher than that. People were buying 3-year-old Toyota Camrys, driving them for 10,000 miles and then selling them for a $5,000 profit because supply was so limited and demand was so insane. Used car prices across the United States rose by an average of 8.4% for 2022, and then they went and rose by another 32.5% throughout 2021. If you were investing in the stock market, if you bought bonds or real estate or even cryptocurrency, there was a good chance that you actually would have been better off merely buying up a few used cars and leaving them in your garage for a year instead. Now, the idea that vehicles can be investments or assets that appreciate in value and make you money instead of costing you money became mainstream, and suddenly everyone thought they were a genius. But the problem is they weren't a genius, and this was never going to last. COVID lockdowns ended now, apparently even in China of all places, and the supply side crisis is starting to pull back. Cars are being made again and at record pace at the same time as demand is dropping like a brick. Now, most cars are financed, I'm sure that's not news to you, and as the Federal Reserve has been increasing interest rates, those financing costs have been increasing, causing demand to dry up, and that's without even mentioning the fact that companies are halting their hiring, firing tens of thousands of employees, and some are just going out of business altogether. Car prices are now falling and have been for months now, and the data is here to prove it. The Mannheim Used Car Index tracks the average price of used vehicles in the United States, and it's widely regarded as the most reliable measure around. The index peaked in early 2022 at above 260, but it was falling steadily by a couple of percent every single month, and today it's sitting at 222, a decline of about 16% across the entire market. The St. Louis Federal Reserve estimates that car prices are falling steadily by 2 to 3% a month on average, and Car Guru's data says says the exact same thing. But now even anecdotal evidence is starting to pile up, with even Doug DeMuro, the king of car content on YouTube, piling on and tweeting multiple times about how prices are dumping and customers aren't sure how to take it. Setting reserves on cars and bids, it's truly jaw-dropping to me how many potential sellers are telling me, I can't sell it for that, I paid more than that X months ago. Yeah, that's normally how this works. Cars lose value. The last 18 months have warped everyone's sense of normal in the car world, and some sellers still believe all cars go up. With the market softening, a lot of sellers are going to be in for a rude awakening. For context, Doug DeMuro owns and runs a car auction website, so he has real first-hand experience with car prices in the US, and this is his conclusion: that prices are falling, that car owners are not ready for it, and that they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Now, this tweet was over 3 months ago, and the market has only gotten worse since then, and we all know that the car industry is pushed along by debt, and usually that isn't much of a problem. Cars are expensive, but they last a long time, so spreading that lump sum payment out into a couple of years isn't a bad thing, especially when interest rates are as low as they have been for many years now. But problems start to emerge when the economy slows down, when people have to take pay cuts or lose their jobs, and when debt gets more expensive. Now, those are all things that are happening right now as we speak. Mass layoffs are occurring across companies all over the world, with tech jobs being hit particularly hard, seeing 12,000 Google employees laid off by email just a few weeks ago. And no one will be surprised when I mention that the Federal Reserve have been increasing interest rates for months on end now, and they say they aren't stopping yet. As a result of this, the average interest rate on a car loan has risen from just 3.8% December of 2021 all the way up to 5.3% in December of 2022. In real terms, that means loans today are $100 to $200 a month more expensive than they were a year ago, while real incomes across the United States have been falling since 2022. People have less money in their pockets going towards more expensive debt, and the situation is only getting worse. But to just pile on the problems here, the underlying asset values of these vehicles that these loans are secured against have also been crashing. So if you can't keep up with your car payments and the bank has to repossess and sell your car, well, your debt still won't be paid off. People are already failing to make their payments, with articles like this one from Investopedia and this one from Yahoo Finance becoming more and more common as delinquencies are rising. But this is where things get really interesting, and the truth is that anyone with half a brain cell has been able to see that car prices were rising unsustainably, that it wasn't going to last, that eventually the bubble would pop, and that car loans would then prove to be a problem for millions of people around the world. That's what the legacy media has been telling you as well, but what they don't tell you, and what they're specifically hiding from you, is that the auto loan bubble is actually in hyperdrive right now, increasing at a faster rate than ever before in history, at the same time as car prices are crashing. And that's why you need to sign up for Stoic Markets, my 100% free newsletter, so you aren't dependent on billion-dollar corporations for your information, but instead are told the truth by people like myself who control our own words. So make sure to click that link down below in the description to sign up to Stoic Markets for free. Now, just a few weeks ago, a Twitter user who owns a bunch of car dealerships posted a shocking thread regarding auto loans and a new practice being put into place by banks, which is causing the bubble to expand, not contract. This man starts off by establishing what we already know, that car prices are high and that many people purchase cars at those high prices with loans. Fast forward to today, and car prices are already plummeting, falling as much as 30% year over year. Many of those with debt on their cars are now underwater, meaning the debt is worth more than the car itself. But here's the problem. During a weekly meeting amongst his employees, this dealership realized that 9 of their lending partners have started waiving open auto stipulations, which means that if you currently have a car with a loan on it, usually you would have to pay off that loan before you can get another one. But now that isn't happening, and instead banks are just ignoring these old loans. People who are already underwater on their loans are then being given more loans so they can buy newer cars that they can't afford when they couldn't even afford the other cars. And the craziest thing about this, these new lenders know that these loans they're giving out are incredibly risky, but they're giving out these new loans anyway under the pretense that customers will default on their old loans but not their new ones, because then they would lose their car. This is coming directly from the source, from the horse's mouth, and this is how a car dealership owner chose to sum up the situation. I've been a doubter, but after what I saw this morning, I'm now fully convinced that a wave of car repossessions will hit in early to mid 2023. If lenders are willing to backstab each other in order to put more loans on the road, we're in trouble. This will not end pretty. Oh, and perhaps the worst thing about all this, well, Elon Musk has now put his weight behind the prediction as well, meaning he also believes the same thing is happening, and Elon also has direct insight into this industry through Tesla. I don't think I can really explain just how insane this is. There's already a car bubble that's falling apart, and banks are already in trouble because they've lent out over $1.5 trillion secured against these car prices that are not holding up. But instead of working to fix this issue, instead of preparing for the massive problems that are coming, they're making the problems worse. They're cannibalizing other banks' old loans under the flawed assumption that people will only default on their old loans, not their new ones, so they'll end up okay. Of course, when one bank does this to the other, well, that bank then just does it right back, so all of these lenders are in serious fundamental trouble. When we look back at the 2008 global financial crisis, we so often get told about the weird culture within these over-leveraged banks that they truly didn't care what happened tomorrow as long as they made a profit today, and the exact same thing is happening right now, just in a new industry. These industry insiders are telling us two things with absolute certainty: that there are mass repossessions coming to the car market, that they will force car prices down even further, that many loans will go unpaid, and that the banks will suffer as a result of all this. The sad thing is though that this will all ripple around the economy multiple times, and it will play off the other problems we're seeing, like the housing market downturn, the weak equity market, and the mass layoffs we're seeing. And it all means just one thing: a recession, maybe even a depression. I'd love to say that there's nothing to worry about here, but the truth is that you should worry and you should be preparing for this. If you're thinking of buying a new car, make sure that it truly is affordable to you. Make sure that should things go wrong and you have to take a pay cut or even lose your job altogether, that it wouldn't be the end of the world. And Lord, please don't take out a second car loan just so you can have the newest truck on the block. The decisions that you make in the lead up and during these global recessions and collapses will echo throughout the rest of your lives. If you're sensible and smart, these events will make you richer, but if you're impulsive and foolish, these decisions will keep you poor forever. Once again, I don't doubt at all that you've heard from other people about the problems within the car market, but the legacy media is refusing to delve deeper into what's going on, meaning that just watching CNBC or reading Bloomberg isn't enough to actually stay truly informed. And that's fundamentally why I've created Stoic Markets, our free email newsletter. It's to help Stoic finance viewers stay up to date, so even when YouTube shadow ban one of my videos like they have done in the past, even if they try to delete the whole channel, they can't actually stop this information from coming out. So make sure to check out Stoic Markets in the link down below in the description. Or if you just want to know about the $100 trillion hidden derivatives debt bubble that sent central banks panicking, then click this video here.